I wrote too long an intro then, so I killed myself.
It was quite a mouthful, that was, yeah.
It
sounded great.
It sounded great. The worst thing is because you didn't reply to me quickly on email earlier. I thought, is he going to turn up? So I just quickly went on LinkedIn about half an hour ago. I'll just quickly print off what he's put on LinkedIn.
Yeah, apologies. It's one of those days where I've had meeting after meeting. In fact, January's just been like that every day.
Well, look, for those that don't know who you are, and they won't potentially know who Electric House are, who is Electric House and who are you?
Okay, it's always a difficult one because where do I start, James? Where do I start with this intro on myself? But at the moment, Adam Barrie, co-founder, chief content officer of Electric House. So we are, I guess, just for simpler terms, yeah, we're a marketing agency, yeah, but with a very big focus on community. So we partner with brands to help them build their own communities and to also put their products and services in front of our community. So that's kind of like what Electric House is, but this was all born from On the Tools. On the Tools, a little bit more recognizable, which is a construction community we started about 7 years ago. So my background is construction. I was in the trade for 12 years. So I've not always been a marketing bod. I started when I was 18 as an apprentice labourer, and then kind of worked my way through the industry for 12 years before setting up On the Tools. Obviously, there's a much longer story than that, but that's kind of a snapshot of who we are. On the Tools at the minute, I think we've got around about 6 million followers across all social channels. So it's grown quite sizable for what you consider a niche audience of construction people.
In terms of On the Tools, why, obviously, without going into too much detail, what made you create a Facebook page in the first place?
Well, it was, it was where we are now is an accident. We've just basically fluked our way to where we are today. So I used to run jobs for construction companies. So I'd look after all the labour, the materials and project manage them. And Lee is who's now CEO. Me and him have been friends since we were like 10. So we was just having a drink and I was moaning to him that I couldn't get any labour for one of my jobs. And Lee, being the self-confessed tech geek he is, he was like, surely there's an app for that. And we had a look, and you've got things like Rated People and Check a Trade, but that's more B2C. There was nothing really out there that was B2B. If I needed to find, let's say, a plasterer for a job, I'd go through my phone book, ring as many plasterers as I could, ask if they knew any plasterers, and that's kind of as far as it went. And then when you started going down the agency route, it was just a bit of a mess. So we decided to create a recruitment app. It wasn't a complete random thing. We'd actually tried to create an app previous to this in the music industry, believe it or not, and that was called Live Music Masters. But we went to get that app developed, and it was just like an insane amount of money, and me and Lee were broke, so we were like, can't do that. And we knew nothing about funding and business plans at the time, so it was just like, we had a logo, that was it. I was like, yeah, we could do this, but we scrapped that one. But the construction one, because I knew trade and he knew tech, it kind of made sense for us to sort of explore this recruitment app. And as I said, we had no money, so we thought, let's see how much it's going to cost for like a basic version of an app, which I think we got quoted around about $6,000 in India. We ended up getting completely ripped off. And don't ever go for like a $6,000 app from India, because there's a reason it's probably $6,000. It's probably too good to be true. But in the meantime, I said, let's create a Facebook page. This is when Facebook was like, people were actually using Facebook, and it was quite cool. I hate using the word cool, but it was on trend. Like, people just started using it. Lad Bible was like booming. It had about 500,000 followers, and was like, let's do a construction version of kind of what they're doing, in the hope that we get, I don't know, we were dreaming at the time, 100,000 tradespeople using this Facebook page. And then a year down the line, when the app's ready, we'll start marketing this recruitment app to them. So that's kind of where the idea came about, to create a Facebook page.
And then I guess going on from that, then the Facebook page blew up and Born was On the Tools.
Yeah, it's a strange one really, because we were fully focused on this recruitment app, but we knew, because it was taking so long to get built, we thought, how can we make money in between this time? So we got a lot of messages from the community saying, do you do merch? And we're like, no, not really. And after about the 10th person asking, we thought, well, let's just put some designs out and see if they buy it. So we put a post out to the community saying, give us your best sort of like construction slogans. And they were horrendous. And I'm going back like 7 years now. We would never be able to sell anything like this now, because they were fucking horrendous. It was like really like cringe, summers make you wet. People bought these, ground workers, your hole is my goal. Awful designs. But we done like a 48-hour store. We said we're going to open one for 48 hours. We've done 6 designs, and we put it out. And I can't remember how much we made, but we made like, thousands in the first sort of like, in that flash sale. And we were like, holy shit. Lee quit his job. After a week, he was like, this is great. I'm going to quit my job. And he quit his job. This was when Facebook gave you like insane amounts of organic reach, by the way. So we were making money off this merch. It wasn't even what we wanted to do. It was just a bit of fun. And we was like, this is great because it allows us now to leave our jobs and have some money coming into the business. And as you know, over time, Facebook just chips away at that organic reach, and it became harder and harder and harder for us to sell that product. And then after that, we started getting approached by brands who wanted to put their marketing material in front of our community. And we did at first because we were like, not really too interested in that. I was like, we'll give you 500 quid. I was like, fuck it, go on then, throw them out. Back then, that was like, yes, 500 quid. But we started posting their content that they created in front of our community, and everyone's just like, you sellouts, what is this shit? Like you've sold out. It used to be great. And we thought, how do we take the money from the brand, deliver on what it is they're asking us to do? Let's say it was a brand awareness campaign. Let's create the content ourselves. Me and Lee, we thought we were quite creative. I got a B in drama, say no more. I think Lee got an A, quite theatrical. So we thought, let's just do it ourselves. So we decided to start almost like a mini production company. And I remember we actually got a shoot for Juicing before we signed a retained deal with them. It was like a test. And the night before I went out on this shoot, because I knew the client was turning up, I Googled how to direct like Ron Howard on YouTube. I literally was watching this YouTube video of Ron Howard, and he had a gilet on and a baseball cap and that. I was like, I'm going to turn up tomorrow in this gilet and this baseball cap. And to be honest, that's what we done. We just completely winged it to begin with. And then that's how the media side sort of kicked off.
Wow. When would you say you realized you had a community? Because community and brand are words that we hear a lot, and a lot of people, I get thrown James, you've got to keep on brand, and we've got to keep our community happy. Whereas for a lot of the people that we deal with, I generally don't believe they've got communities.
Yeah,
that's me maybe being harsh on some occasions. But when was it where you and Lee sat down and went, we've actually got an audience here?
I think community is now becoming a buzzword. So we've been using community for a long time, and I think people are now going, right, you've got an audience, now that's your community. We'll just change their words up, and it's like a bit of a marketing buzzword at the minute. I think for us, it was that two-way conversation, and they were helping us make decisions, and they were asking for our help. So it wasn't just one-way traffic where we're just going to publish content at you. It was a two-way thing. So it was things like van theft. It was rife, and it still is now, actually. And the trouble with van theft in construction is, one, if the vans get broken into, there's a damage to the van, it needs to be fixed. Two, if the tools get taken, that's someone's livelihood. And you're talking, depending on what trade, could be up to £10,000 worth of tools in that van. And it's really difficult to get those insured and get the money back on those. So the van's broke, the tools are gone, they've got to go out and buy all new tools. They're going to miss time off work. So a break-in of a van could cost a tradesperson, up to £15,000 to £20,000. And that's just one example of how sort of underserved they are as an industry. So I think that two-way conversation of them asking us for help and saying, you've got like, you're sort of like the in between us and the brands and the industry. you can help us here with your reach and it's quite powerful, isn't it? I
Mm.
think that's when we realized we had a community when they actually cared about what we were doing just as much as we did.
To be fair, it's a really nice way of putting that, because you're right. That community, it's a double-edged sword. It's got to go both ways, hasn't it? And a lot of the smaller, I think e-commerce is probably the fairer way to put this as an example, is that, you know, they'll create a small e-commerce brand, whether that's like a baby product or a garment of some description or some clothing, and because they've had 100 followers, they think they've got a community. They haven't. And I know it's really harsh, but they haven't, have they? They're just liking it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think so. It is a difficult one. I think one thing that made us realize we needed to do more for our community and not just try and take money off them. Um, Lee was doing a talk, and I can't remember where it was, but he got absolutely grilled at this talk. It was like one of those. What's best? Is it social media, or is it radio, or is it written word? Do you know what I mean? It was like, let's bash social media because it was quite new, and he got absolutely hammered. And actually, one of the people that asked him a question was like, "You've got a responsibility now to the trade, to that community, to do more than just shove funny videos in front of them. And what are you doing to make that happen?" And the answer was nothing. We wasn't doing anything, and we could. So I think that was another thing there that made us sort of like think, okay, we have actually got not only the responsibility, but an opportunity to change an industry. I mean, how often does that happen? You know, for the better. And just for anyone who doesn't understand construction, it's an industry that is 20 years behind every other industry. Just because I think of how many people are self-employed within that industry. Again, just coming back to like things that they have to put up with. It's tool theft, late payment, health conditions. Believe it or not, statistically, you know, you're more likely to commit suicide if you work in the trade than any other industry. And then there's other health conditions that are attached to it. You know, more people get kidney and liver problems working in the trade than any other industry. So there's lots of these things attached to it, which makes them so underserved. Lots of them haven't got pensions, and you combine all that. It's no wonder why mental health is such a big issue within the industry. And we're sitting here thinking we should do more. We can, because we've got that voice, so we can become their voice.
From a community perspective, do you now, well, you say you use the term responsibility. Do you feel a real responsibility now for that marketplace?
I do. I think coming from the trade myself and having gone through all of these things that I'm talking about now, I've had my van broken into. I had to fold one company because I got took for a load of money. They were never going to pay me. It was, you know, borderline corrupt, and they went into liquidation. I've been there, and I know how hard it is to survive in an industry like that. So for me, I've got like a personal attachment to it. And also because of things like social media, 10 years ago, there wasn't really a social media industry where people were working in it. Whereas now, millions of people work in this new industry, less and less people are entering construction and more people are leaving it. So actually, if that continues to happen without them, you know, every single construction brand's going to struggle. And so are we. So I feel we have got a responsibility to get more people into the trade and keep them there.
It's interesting on the trade, because I'm actually a bricklayer by trade years
Oh,
ago.
there you go.
And I'll never forget. And this is my last job, so I just finished my third year, and I was working on the Hagley Road, just down from you guys in Birmingham. And I got in one day, and my little red sacks, but tools with me, and the lads went, "Oh, could you repoint that wall?" It was November, it's fucking freezing. I had no gloves on, and this wall was about fucking 8 meters high, 40 meters long. I just went, do you know what? An hour in, put my tools down, said, I'm done. And what do you mean? I said, I'm never coming back on site again. Never did. That was it. The tools are probably still there now. But like you said, it's such a bizarre industry, isn't it? When you're in it, it's nuts. It's not
It
like
is.
anything else. But the amount of value they give to the UK is incredible. You know, especially localized businesses. You know, whether it's going to pick up a bacon sarnie from the same bloke on the same road every day for 40 years, which is then giving him a revenue. There's so much that goes to it, which I think people just don't see.
Yeah, no, you're right. We like to say they're the backbone of Britain. And it's funny when we work with brands sometimes because they think that construction workers just walk around with like a power tool on the shoulder. You know, they do actually shop in Greggs and they take their kids on holiday and they do all these different things. They're not just on a building site 24/7. And we have to explain that to brands because when we say we've got this community of people and it's construction, they instantly think, oh, okay, well, what's construction got to do with us? But actually, they're just like normal human beings. They do shop in Aldi.
They do, but there's a lot of it really. Some of my friends who have got quite big building firms, they're intelligent people. These aren't, the preconceived idea is builder, we're all mate. They're not. That world is far gone. And and like I said, some of my friends of mine who are, they're 40, 50, some 80 staff, on the tools. It's a big old boy, that.
Yeah, it's there's a mixture, and I class myself. Maybe I don't give myself enough credit, but I left school with no grades. And back in my day, when you was in the careers office at school, and they'd say, "What is it you want to do?" And this is the sort of more predicted grades. They say, "Okay, great. You can either be an apprentice." Electrician or carpenter, or you're going to go in the army. That was kind of like your two options. As a bit of when I was at school, so I wasn't thick, but it just wasn't for me. So actually, when I left school, I wanted to go on and I wanted to go and join the Marines, but at 16, I was too scrawny. They said, come back in a couple of years. And so I went to do a college course called a public service course, where you can sort of go into any services. I somehow managed to fail that. And being honest, I found drugs at that point in my life. I just went down a bit of a wrong path. And also the war kicked off the back of 9/11. And I think we went to war and I thought, nah, this ain't for me. So I went into the trade instead. But I think actually a lot of people tend to take that route. And I think that's why you've got the sort of the humour you get when you work in construction, because I put it down. And look, I'm not blanketing everyone who works in the trade now. I don't want to offend anyone. I've worked there. I'm talking about myself now. But you always got like the class clowns who are like, who didn't quite get on well in school and they go directly into a trade, all working together in one place. But actually, just because they didn't do well in school and get those sort of academic grades doesn't mean they're not clever people. I class myself as working class, but managed to do all right for myself. But I think it's because when you go into the trade, you don't get the support that you normally get when you go into any other industry. So if you go into like finance and you go and work for a bank, you get your pension, you get taught how to sort of manage your finance, all that sort of stuff. You get looked after, in that corporate world. When you go into construction, I worked for John down the pub. 1 minute I didn't work, the next minute I had a pouch and a drill, and you just crack on and you're self-employed and you've got to do your own taxes. So you kind of learn by making mistakes.
And I guess actually from on the tools, that's where you guys now can come in, can't you, and add value to, especially like you said, the younger tradesmen. Because I remember going on site, like you said, didn't have a pension, and weirdly, it was actually the local pub owner for me who I said, "Oh, I'm doing a bricklaying course." When I've got a big site in Hagley Road. Actually, come over. It was literally that Monday. I was Thursday. Monday, I was on site. That's just how it works, isn't it? But like I said, there's no pension, and on site's a tough gig. I always say to my nieces, it's tough. Like I remember being put up a wall against, with some plumbers because, the what were they called? Like the little bombs they put in the pipes to see where they're.
Yeah.
They're all in the rafters. So I got a load, flew them up. I got absolutely fire. Get out! They're running out this massive flat. Oh, they're absolutely fuming. Yeah. But yeah, it's a tough old gig. But I have no idea. So from a community perspective, then, what have you done to make on the tools? So we've gone through. You're now essentially a responsible adult now. You've actually you can't just shut them away. What have you done and what do you do day to day? Because I know your operation, but what do you guys do to make it what it is? And how do you keep people engaged? Because a lot of people that, again, use Facebook, and like you said about the organic perspective, not many people know that. And I get very frustrated that people still think that Facebook as it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. And we know it's not. They've got shareholders now and they've got to make money. So unfortunately, for you and us on some occasion, this doesn't obviously play into our game. But what have you done to keep that engagement and keep that community active?
I think listening to them, constant research, market research. It's very easy for us because we've got the community spread across Facebook groups, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. So we can dive into that audience and ask them anything at any time. And we always get quite a good response. So one thing that we learned from the start, that, you know, going back to when we launched our sort of merch, was we asked them what they wanted. So we're constantly asking them what it is they want, what do they want to see more of, and then that allows us to then put together sort of like a content strategy to help feed that back into the community. We've always asked them what is it they want, and it's quite whenever we get stuck internally on a decision, I'm like, ask the audience. Go and ask them. It's, you know, like phone a friend, isn't it? It's like, go and ask them. They'll tell you exactly what they want. You know, frame it in the right way. So we always ask them what they want, and then we try and deliver that. And what we're trying to do at the minute is we come up with like content pillars, so we can focus around like industry issues. You know, what classes an industry issue? It might be finance, it might be mental well-being. Humour's an easy one for us. They love coming to us because it's like that release, and they love to get that sort of like humorous content. I think we've done over 1 billion views last year. And again, a lot of those come from outside of the construction industry, which is always great because people love to see what we're doing. But what we're trying to do at the moment is just create more informative content. So we want to become the hub for tradespeople. So if there's anything at all you're unsure about, you go to On the Tools, whether that's because you want to watch some funny content, or you want to tune into some like live show where there's going to be giveaways, or you want to know when you should go VAT registered, or how to take on your first apprentice. It's that type of information, that informative information, that we're trying to now do more of and become this content hub, because it's got to be value. Like, we have to give them value, and that we have to do more than just going, here's a funny video. We do that quite easily. What's the next step? How do we go to that next step, and how do we showcase people, and how do we bring more people into the industry? Like you said, you know, reference your friends there who've got these booming companies. It's a really good gig if you get into construction and you do a 2 or 3 year apprenticeship as a Sparky. You could be earning 35 grand a year at 21 years old. Plus, then some. You know, it's and you don't have all the debt you get if you go to university. It's that type of thing that we need to add back in, is like, show them the value and then give them the value as well.
Something you mentioned there about ask the audience. Have you asked the audience and got the answer you don't want?
Sometimes we've had an idea, where we've gone, this is a really good idea, but to make sure that we're on the right track, we'll ask the community and go, and then they've gone the opposite way, and we've gone, bollocks. But it's a good job we did, because again, you know, companies pay hundreds of thousands for market research, hundreds of thousands. And we've got that at our fingertips for free. And now we're trying to, you know, help brands kind of reach our community as well, and do the same for them. So yes, we have, a number of times.
When did you guys go from humour to, I'm going to put in education, but it's probably not fair, but when did you decide to make that switch? Because that's a massive switch from, hey, we've got a Facebook group, which I think everyone within a certain age range over the last 6 years have probably seen your content, whether that's the Cheltenham Festival stuff, which I originally known you for, which I think you were actually in that one, weren't you?
I think, yeah, I was, yeah.
Yeah, you know the one I'm on about, the horses around the thing.
Yeah.
So when did you go from, right, we're on the tools, which is pretty humorous all the time, that's what we're known for, to switching up? Because that's a massive switch, isn't it, from what you were to where you are? And I guess internally there's going to be some stakeholders that have got some issues with that. You know, when and why did you know how easy was it to change that? Because a lot of companies that we listen to this will have a small brand, they need to get to that next level, and their content potentially needs to change for certain reasons, or the community aspect, or whatever that is.
Yeah, I think we're in a unique position where it was never something that we was going to completely change sort of like what it is we're known for. We put out so much content that is classed as entertaining or humorous that we could never swap that out, because I think a lot of our content comes from the community. So all the stuff you see gets submitted to On the Tools. It's like they want to be on the channel. You know, we get people sending please feature us with you know, and they send their video in, and then we put that together, we put it back out. We was never going to stop that, but we needed to make sure that we were making more informative content. So it was quite easy for us to do that because it wasn't an overnight change. And I actually think if we'd have done that, it probably would have been like a big mistake, because they're so used to seeing one thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, you've gone completely the other way. What we've tried to do is we've tried to put it on certain channels. So YouTube, informative content, long form, because there's usually quite a lot to explain. So we'll put that on YouTube, more lean back content. We'll still drive it from Facebook stories, Instagram stories, maybe a little bit of paid, push them over to YouTube. One, that's where they're going to get that lean back content anyway. It's search term led, so it should sit on that platform. But that's kind of what we've done. And I don't think we'll ever get to a point where the ratio of informative information across the whole of where you see on the tools will ever outweigh the humorous stuff, because we just put too much of it out. You get so much sent in. It's hard for us not to. But what we have to do is we have to make sure that that information is in the right place. You know, because I think if you look at our Facebook page, you go from like this 3-minute really funny video, these construction fails, and then the next video is like, you know, how to fill out a VAT return. It doesn't quite work out, but that can sit on the website, because that someone's going to search for that. So that can sit on the website, and there could be a video link to it through YouTube. So it's just about getting that balance right.
It's really interesting actually, because we had Mike Winnett on. I don't know if you know Mike.
Yes, I follow him on
the
LinkedIn.
Entrepreneur. Yeah, what a genius. Well,
really
he was on last week, and he used his term forever content, which is what people just don't typically do. You know, you think about it, when you search for something, you either type in Google or you go onto YouTube. Yeah, a lot of companies that especially we deal with, they have no content on YouTube or Google. Well, if that's the places we as consumers are searching, why wouldn't you have content on there? And especially YouTube, because like I said, it's long form. And if that question is going to be asked multiple times for X amount of years, well, why wouldn't you invest in some good long form content that's going to go on there, which is informative, which is then always going to produce, again, maybe not revenue in your perspective, but actually views back on the tools.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of brands out there who are just fixed on getting that instant ROI. Yeah, they'd rather, I want it now. I want the views. How many views this is going to get me? You know, they don't think of the long term, and we call it evergreen content internally, where that to me, if I was a brand, I'd be like, okay, it's not going to go and get 1 million views in the first 2 weeks, but it's going to be there potentially, as long as the product doesn't change and the regulations and the information doesn't change. We're sitting there for 10 years getting searched. And then that's how you get that link back, and that's where the value is. But yeah, people just don't tend to want to do it.
Why do you think that is? Because again, I get very frustrated with people in our market, Adam, and they market themselves as, hey, spend $1,000 tomorrow, and in a week's time you'll be a millionaire. And especially with paid Facebook ads, as you know, you guys all know. I get very frustrated because that's not reality anymore. There'll be the odd occasion where you can do very, very well, and you know, we've had some successes actually in the construction market of a couple of our clients, which are insane. I'm not going to go for the results because no one will believe me, but they are ridiculous. What would be your advice for people about that evergreen content that you can give us? You know, probably not some examples, but why would you invest in that? If you're a small business owner and you didn't have on the tools, and whether you're an e-commerce site or an offline sales channel, what would be your advice in terms of that evergreen content? How would you do it, and what would you do?
So I think there's two different objectives. I think if you were doing a product launch and you wanted to make a shitload of noise about it, I do think there's benefits in going for that initial impact. Let's tell everyone what we've got to sell. Yeah. So I do think that does work. But if that isn't the case and you're looking at a long game, I definitely think that evergreen content is the way forward. But I think you have got to explain the why around it, because you know, you've got these two things here, and you can say, okay, well, this one here is going to get you a reach of 1 million people within the first 2 weeks, and you go, but this one over here is going to get you a reach of 5 million, but it's going to take 7 years. You know, what you got to remember, the people in these marketing jobs, I might not fucking be here in 7 years' time. I need results, and I need them now. So I think it's different when I deal with people who are business owners, and they understand it, and they can say, okay, well, I'm not going to be going anywhere. So they tend to invest in the long form. So same as me, I like to go, okay, well, long term, let's think of it long term. Whereas I think a lot of the marketing managers you deal with, I think they kind of need the results and they need them now. So they tend to not go down that route. But what I'd do is I'd start by just trying to educate them as to why. I think what we've done wrong in the past is we said, yeah, this is what we should do. And they go, no, we don't want to do that. And we don't really explain like what's the benefit of doing that. For me, that evergreen or forever content, that is like, I don't, like I say, it's not this or that. It's like, what's your objective? Because if you're looking at making a big splash and you've got a flash sale on or whatever it is, then yeah, that maybe that's not for you. But I would get people to lean more down that route, because I think people review things more now. I think, do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm looking to buy something or purchase a product or find some information out, I think people take that little bit more time to go and sort of like search that information out, especially if they're going to be putting money down. Whereas, yeah, I don't think they do that on Facebook.
No, there's some element of truth with this social proof, and I think a lot of people have gone to. I think people are reviewing their purchases more because of, and I've mentioned this a few times on here, which is the drop shippers. I think they've been great in some occasions. I think for Facebook ads, especially, they've been a pain in the ass, if I'm being brutally honest, because they put all our costs up. But I think actually, in terms of reviewing, people are reviewing more their purchases, and they are seeing if there's reviews. If you haven't got a website now, I won't buy it. I can't remember what it was recently, but I had a quick Google. They didn't have a website. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm totally out. So I think you've got to have some social proof. I don't like looking on what Facebook pages that look a bit dodgy and they've got like 2 million views, which obviously they've just bought the likes and just they're too dodgy for me. But in terms of organic, Adam, because your company is just organic and the stuff content you put out is amazing. How have you seen the change with Facebook, especially? Obviously, I know you're now on different platforms, but how are you seeing Facebook change from an organic perspective? Is there anything you guys are doing internally that are increasing the views pretty outside of your audience? Is there anything tips you've seen over the last year? Because it has changed massively, obviously, since the update as well.
Yeah, it's changed. I think we just take it back to like, what do Facebook want? And what they want is they want people engaging on the platform. Every time Mark Zuckerberg comes out and gives one of those fucking awful speeches, you've got to try and understand what it is he's trying to say there. So we always try and boost engagement. Now, I mean, it's easy to say that, just boost your engagement, but there's a number of ways you can do that. We sometimes focus more on image posts that drive engagement. Put something out where there's a reason for people to make a comment on there, and not just like tag someone in, like a discussion, because the meatier the comments, the more that will bring it into people's feeds. The 3-minute, we create a lot of 3-minute content. Again, it's not easy for everyone to do that, but we have a mixture of anything from 60 seconds. If it's 60 seconds to 90 seconds, that's kind of what we class as our short form content. That might not, from our perspective, make us a lot of money through the ad breaks, but it'll get a lot of views, a lot of engagement, again, bringing our videos back into people's feeds. So I think my biggest advice would be look at what it is Facebook want. Yeah. What do they actually want on the platform? And can you sort of like align your marketing strategy with that? Because that's all we do. We get a shitload of views. If the content's not very good, it's not engaged, it's not relatable, it doesn't matter what we put out, it'll bomb. We've got to make sure that we're still relating to the audience and driving engagement, because that's what Facebook want.
Joe, it's so true, because I bash about this to every single client we have. What's the objective, and is that objective aligned with Facebook's? Because if it's not, you're not going to win. And yes, you might think that your new product is incredible, but if no one else on Facebook is thinking it's incredible, you're going to be priced out of the market from a pay perspective very quickly. And even from an organic now, you might not get priced out from a CPM perspective, but you're going to get priced out in terms of you're going to be right at the back of those rails and no one will know you are. And it's so frustrating, because I think so many brands now, and it's where this brand term comes from, which fucking infuriates me. Oh, it's got to be on brand. It might want to be on brand, but no one else cares about your brand. And if it's not engaging for your audience, they won't care either. And the worst thing is, depending on what platform you're on, they're not going to care either, which means no one's going to see it. So you might have this amazing following, but if you're not engaging your audience, no one cares. Can no one bloody see it?
Exactly. Yeah. I see a lot of companies, brands, whatever you want to call them, just doing the wrong thing, and it is all one way. And I actually think if they took the time to sort of like engage with their audience, community, whatever you want to label it as, I think then they start to learn a little bit more about what it is they like, and then that will help them develop a better content strategy. But everything seems just to be one way. They're just talking at them, and I think what we've done a really good job of is having that two-way conversation, because you just find out so much more. They'll tell you what they want, and they'll literally like drive you in the right direction. If you start getting it wrong, they'll fucking tell you. But you got to make sure that that's open.
Yeah, it's just honestly, it's so what Mike said last week. It's all the we's, founded in 1984. My grandfather. No one cares.
No one gives a shit.
But they don't do that. No one absolutely cares, and it's this brand term. And the worst, I know you deal with some large brands like we do, but it's always the smaller ones. And again, people listen to this, the smaller brands, but it's because they fall in love with this product they've made or this service, which is amazing. But you haven't got a brand yet because you've got no bloody customers. If you haven't got any customers, you haven't got a brand. And weirdly, then you haven't obviously got a community, which is the end result. But oh god, it's a nightmare. From this is my sort of last question to you. You've gone across now from Facebook, where you originated from. Obviously, Instagram is the same anyway, but you've had to change content there, and obviously now TikTok, which you've already hit 1 million, I believe, followers. Is that right? This last week on TikTok?
Yeah, I think last week we hit 1 million. Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing. How important is it from again engagement, back onto that point, that the content is native? Because I guess as we know, TikTok is so different. And how have you guys changed that internally with your production teams?
Yeah, it's super important. So internally, if we go out and we create content, excuse me, we'll have like a shot list, and then there'll be one for Facebook, one for Instagram, one for TikTok, whatever platform it's going out of, because we've made the mistake in the past of going, let's just get a YouTube video and you sling it on Facebook, and it's not optimized for the platform, and it bombs and it doesn't do well. And then you do the same on TikTok. So we actually, when we're going out and we're producing the content, make sure that if we can, as long as it doesn't change it too much, if we can, we make it fit for a specific platform. It's definitely like super important that you make sure that you're optimizing the content for that platform, because if you can tick all those boxes and it's in the right size, and actually on TikTok, it's probably the most creative platform there is. You can film yourself or just film a quick video, but the amount of stuff you can do to change that video and completely change all the fundamentals of that production is insane, and anyone can do it. So I think it's really important that you do that. And I think it's important that people diversify and pick up these new platforms as and when they're growing, because 18 months ago everyone's like, TikTok's just this, it was Musical.ly, was it? Oh, it's just the music ads, silly people dancing. Facebook 7 years ago wasn't fucking Meta. Like, it was cat videos, it was a cat playing the piano. Do you know what I mean? 7 years down the line, we're talking about fucking the Metaverse and stuff. TikTok in 5 years' time will not be what it is now. It will completely change. It'll probably be the biggest social commerce platform in the world. That's kind of how they're operating in China. And if they get it over here, it's a game changer. So getting on there now where the growth's good, it will allow you to be in a position when it does change to sort of like reap those rewards, just like we did on Facebook. We set up on Facebook. The likes didn't pay the bills. We was not generating any money at all from fucking Facebook. We just knew we had this is going to turn into something one day. And now, fortunate where actually we do make money off the platform, and we can plug brands in. There's so many more things we can do now, but that's been 7 years in the making. So I would definitely sort of, I'd get people to, if you can, get on these other platforms, especially now where that, you still haven't missed the boat on TikTok. You can still get really good growth on there. So definitely get on there.
Huge growth. We've posted some videos from clients, and organically and from a paid perspective. Cost from paid are absurd. It's nuts. And organic is huge in terms of views. you know, it's yeah, I would, yeah, I've you know, we've recommended all our clients just to get on there early, and especially it's always like one of those, isn't it? Is my audience there today? They might not be there today, but they might be tomorrow. And again, if you're ahead of the curve, you'd rather be on there than not. And let's be honest, like I said, something like TikTok, in terms of content creation, you don't need a big production house for a lot of it. It can just be done on your iPhone now, which is pretty not great for you guys, but it is incredible, isn't it?
We can get away with producing content on a phone on TikTok because that's how it's sort of optimized for that channel. No one would look at a piece of content from us filmed on a phone and be like, wow, this is because it's on TikTok. That's what they expect.
Yeah.
So it fits with the platform. So definitely, it's definitely the easiest platform to, one, create content for, and two, to get those insane numbers on the views, which people will go, oh, it's just vanity metrics, but you do get something out of those vanity metrics. You get more people follow, you get more eyeballs on your brand, so it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah. Talking about the metaverse, mate, it makes me feel ill. I've been on it 4 times. The first time I went on it, I had to go to bed. I had the worst travel sickness. My missus went, "You're right." I said, Jess, I feel horrendous. I had to genuinely, I had to go upstairs to bed.
Wow, that's your age, that is, mate.
Mate, what have you? Because I saw you, Lee, and someone else was on there the other week, and I was like, I see everyone else on there, and am I the only one that just feels ill in it, or is it? Have you? You're right in there.
I think I'm used to it now. Yeah, I've had one for a while. I brought my son one, not this Christmas just gone, the one before, and some of the games he was playing, he was like, "Come on, Dad, have a go at this." And I had to go. Honestly, I was like, "This is mine now. Like, this is that good. I'm keeping it." So I'm like, I don't play it every night, but I do play it like probably 4 times a week. I just love it.
I tell you what, from an e-commerce perspective, though, it's gonna change the game for a lot of these brands, big time.
Yeah, the possibilities is scary because like you watch Ready Player One and stuff like that, and I do genuinely believe like that could potentially be the future for a lot of people, where their virtual life is better than their real life, and they'll end up thinking, well, I'm just going to spend my time in there.
But the reality is, aren't we already there? Without getting too political, because when I look at me and my other half, we've got rid of all our Instagrams and stuff now because I'm fed up of seeing where people aren't, well, what they're doing, but actually aren't doing in their lives. We're there now. The only difference is we haven't actually got something stuck on our head. You go into a restaurant, everyone's on their phones. They're not discussing or talking to one another. I think we're already there, just probably not in the metaverse, just on our, we're cyborgs, aren't we, on our phone, really?
Yeah, I think we're a step closer. I think what people have, I think once you do get that fully immersive, like reality, that's the scary bit, because honestly, it will be, people's lives will be better in that world than without. And actually, when you start thinking, I'm going to be working in there, like there'll be jobs you can do within that world that you have to put the headset on to go into and to do that work. That's weird, isn't it? Really, it's going to be. It's scary, but you just can't change the development of technology. It will be our downfall. We'll all die because of this. The world will end, no doubt about it. But let's enjoy it until it does. But the phone thing, I think we've become addicted. I've become addicted to the point where I still consume content on all the apps, but if I'm going on holiday and I need to, I can't be on my phone all the time. I'm off work. I have to delete the apps temporarily to make sure I don't, because I've got a habit now of just picking up my phone, going straight onto Instagram. So I have to delete the app. So when I do go to do that, I've got to download it again. So it's just a little bit of a blocker. That's what I've had to start doing. It's terrible, isn't it?
Olivia, mate, it is. Olivia works for us. She it was in, I can't remember what, 6 months to a year ago. She got addicted to TikTok. She came in the office. I said, "What's wrong?" She, "I've not slept." Why not? She become addicted. She had to delete it. She spent something like 7 hours on TikTok.
Wow.
Didn't even notice it. It's just like the sun came up and down. She had no she had no idea. Just looking through, just obviously just shit. Let's be honest.
Brilliant.
It's it's nuts. But look, you guys are amazing in terms of the community. Kudos to what you've done. What you've built there is incredible, and congrats to you, Lee, and the team on that. But for people that want to know more about Electric House and on the tools and want to see your funny videos at Cheltenham, which is March, which is on its way, where can they find out more about you, buddy?
So any social platform, we're on it. So just go and search on the tools on that. If you want to talk to me about how potentially you can work with us and reach our community, see if there's a good fit there, then reach out to me on LinkedIn, Adam Barrie, Electric House. And that's it, mate.
Perfect. Well, look, cheers for coming on today, Adam. And yeah, keep smashing it.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Good man. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.